Nothing leaving. All traffic, air traffic nationwide has been shut down by the Federal Aviation Administration in reaction to what definitely appears to be a terrorist attack on the United States. First there at the World Trade Center in New York, and now, as you heard from Dave Satter, where the west side of the Pentagon and an area near the heliport was hit by a plane.
Again, the White House has been evacuated after the Secret Service received a credible threat of a terrorist act against the presidential mansion and residence. Again, the AP reporting the Secret Service has received a credible threat of a terrorist threat against the presidential mansion and residence.
We also have learned that Blair Mansion, which is the residence of heads of state who come in as guests to the United States, has also been evacuated. Again, specifically BWI, but this covers every airport in the United States. They've been shut down. All airplane traffic nationwide. Of course, in our area, that means BWI, right. National, Dulles, all closed down, nothing coming in, nothing going out. This is a horrible sight and a scary, very frightening day.
Again, what you're looking at now is the Pentagon. Some witnesses say it appeared to be an American Airlines 757, which plowed into the helipad part of the Pentagon, the 395 side of the Pentagon. Hold on just 1 minute.
All right, we just want to update you in case you have not heard, just turning on and don't know what you're looking at. This is not a made-for-TV movie. This is the real thing. On the left, black billowing smoke from the Pentagon. On the right, billowing smoke from the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York. Shortly after 8:44 this morning in New York, a small, some say a twin-engine plane crashed into the World Trade Center tower on the right of your screen. About 18 minutes later, an airliner, some say hijacked, a 757 that you're looking at right now. This is a tape of that earlier this morning. That building and that plane going deliberately heading straight into the tower on the left of your screen.
President Bush ordered a full-scale investigation, quoting the president, to hunt down the folks who committed this act.
Shortly after the president made that statement, we were getting word that there had been a plane heading towards the Pentagon going down, and that's what you see on the left-hand side of your screen, the picture in the box on the left-hand side. Dave Satter said you could see it. Some of the flames were beginning to diminish, but what observers noted, and they were in the airline industry, so we kind of take what they're saying at the word 757 American Airlines. They could see the plane, they could see the markings, crashed into the west side of the Pentagon near the heliport.
This is a live picture we're just getting here. This is the firefighters battling the blaze at the Pentagon. Look.
So you can see the damage.
This is just going to be raw tape that Dave Statter and his crew are
just feeding into us.
You can see this apparent terrorist attack. A jet slammed into the Pentagon about 15-20 minutes ago, the helipad side on 395. We have no word yet on casualties. The Pentagon has been evacuated, as has the White House and the U.S. Capitol building at Blair Mansion.
Before this happened at the Pentagon, President Bush went on the air to talk about the response, the U.S. response, in light of the World Trade Center. But again, this is what happened right after he said we were going to hunt down the folks responsible for the apparent terrorist attack in New York City. And shortly after that, this is what happened at the Pentagon in Arlington. We're just getting across the wires in Los Angeles. Police departments there are on tactical alert, but there have been no threats in Los Angeles that police are aware of. But as you can imagine, major American cities are on heightened alert. And Los Angeles is saying we are in citywide tactical alert and have mobilized their anti-terrorist division. Let's go back to Dave Statter with more from the site of the Pentagon. Dave.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
All right, I'm here with Michael Kelly, who was a witness to this attack at the Pentagon. I'm going to let him describe what he saw here, I guess about 20 minutes ago with me, Michael Kelly. First of all, let me just first describe the scene. This is the west side of the Pentagon. the heliport side off of Washington Boulevard. Were you driving or what?
Yes, I was in the traffic on the 14th Street Bridge, right at the Pentagon, tied up going into town, and I heard this plane come over my head. It was really low.
What size plane?
It sounded like a small plane, but it was very, very low. And the next thing I know, there was this tremendous explosion as it hit the Pentagon. I looked over, and the smoke started coming up. Pieces of the plane and pieces of the Pentagon were falling onto the 14th Street, onto the Shirley Highway. Very scary. So I decided not to go across the 14th Street Bridge. I came around, and I wound up here, stopped in the traffic right at the Pentagon. I was trying to get back over to Memorial Bridge, but no
Had you
luck.
known about the World Trade Center?
Oh, yeah, I was listening to WTOP radio the whole time, and then this thing came right over my head, and it plowed. It was clearly a similar situation to what happened in New York.
There are injured people here. We can't tell you how many. We've certainly seen Arlington Fire and Rescue crews, the paramedics working on somebody in front of us. We have not heard the number of people injured. This attack, as you can see, did not seem to really penetrate the building a great distance, even though there is a great amount of fire on this side of the Pentagon, which I believe is, as you can compare it to the World Trade Center. I think the Pentagon has always been called the largest office building in the world, so there certainly is a comparison there. Besides, it's obviously strategic implications. Arlington Fire here called in extra equipment. They've called in the National Airport Foam Unit, which
Dave?
Yes, go ahead.
Dave?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Dave?
Yes.
We just
Hold
want to
on.
break in because we want to go back to New York where Dan Rather is anchoring our coverage where one of the towers at the World Trade Center has collapsed. Let's go back to CBS.
There are no confirmed fatalities. Now, in Washington, the Pentagon has had a fire and explosions, much speculation of what would have caused the fires and explosions at the Pentagon in Washington, but very few facts. David Martin, our Pentagon correspondent, says that he has seen, I believe it said 5 injured people at the Pentagon. One eyewitness, and only one so far, is quoted as saying he thinks, I put that in quotation marks, he thinks a plane crashed into the Pentagon. But there'll be rumors all day, and we're going to try to separate the rumors from the facts. Now, you're looking at a live picture of the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. In flames, with much smoke. In the last few minutes, there have been 2 reports, but not yet officially confirmed, that a portion of at least one of the towers has collapsed. But I caution that that's an unconfirmed report, although it comes from 2 sources, and it's unclear whether that collapse is about the interior of the building or some portion of the exterior of the building. I want to emphasize again, not to be redundant, but this is a day in which rumors are going to spread like mildew in damp basements. And there'll be reports, some of them will be officially confirmed, some not. That's the environment in which we're dealing. Now, President Bush was in Florida this morning. He called this an apparent act of terrorism and rushed back to Washington. The president is in the air going back to Washington at the moment. Now, in Washington, the reports spread that a plane also crashed at the Pentagon. See, as David Martin says, there are at least several injuries. Several is the word he used. The FAA has banned all aircraft takeoffs nationwide. Here in New York, the city is on a full terrorist alert. Bridges and tunnels are closed. You recall the World Trade Center was the target of a terrorist bombing in 1993. Now, again, it's important to point out that with television, what we can show you is what is at the end of the television camera. The whole city is not in smoke and flames, not by a long shot. The city is on a terrorist alert. Entry into the city has been closed off. Tunnels and bridges are closed off as a precautionary measure. But, you know, in many, many areas of New York City, life goes on this morning, and the same is true in Washington, D.C. So just keep in mind that when you see this picture constantly, it's of one section of New York City, and we go to Washington for the picture there, the Pentagon, the same thing. These pictures...
All right, this is Mike Buchanan along with Andrea Roan. We're here in Washington. We're going to keep you updated on this situation. We've also got an What you got, Chris?
We've got Chris.
Beltway at 395 at the Pentagon has been shut down.
The
Beltway at 395 near the Pentagon has been shut down, obviously because of what you're seeing right here on the screen. A plane hitting the west side of the building, a gaping hole there, and near the heliport. This after 2 planes struck the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. Reports of a portion of the second tower that was hit at the World Trade Center appears to have collapsed. What you are looking at right now, though, is here, the Pentagon. Let's recap, Mike.
All right, what are we going to figure? Hold on, here's a...
These are raw footage coming back. That's our reporter there on the scene who will be giving us stories in just a few minutes. But people who have been evacuated from the Pentagon building after that building, the west side of the building, was struck by a plane not long after the twin attacks in New York City on the World Trade Center. An Associated Press reporter says he saw the tail end of a large airliner plunge. National Dulles all closed down, nothing coming in, nothing going out. This is a horrible sight and a scary, very frightening day.
Again, what you're looking at now is the Pentagon. Some witnesses say it appeared to be an American Airlines 757, which plowed into the helipad part of the Pentagon, the 395 side of the Pentagon. Hold on just 1 minute.
All right, we just want to update you in case you have not heard, just turning on and don't know what you're looking at. This is not a made-for-TV movie. This is the real thing. On the left, black billowing smoke from the Pentagon. Nothing leaving. All traffic, air traffic nationwide has been shut down by the Federal Aviation Administration in reaction to what definitely appears to be a terrorist attack on the United States. First there at the World Trade Center in New York, and now, as you heard from Dave Satter, where the west side of the Pentagon and an area near the heliport. We also have learned that Blair Mansion, which is the residence of heads of state who come in as guests to the United States, has also been evacuated. Again, specifically BWI, but this covers every airport in the United States. They've been shut down. All airplane traffic nationwide. Of course, in our area, that means BWI was hit by a plane.
Again, the White House has been evacuated after the Secret Service received a credible threat of a terrorist act against the presidential mansion and residence. Again, the AP reporting the Secret Service has received a credible threat of a terrorist threat against the presidential mansion and residence.